The request, a hope for amicable separation. He thought it would be different, civil, respectful. Years washed away by a simple phrase, "We need to talk." He chose a neutral space, a quiet coffee shop they frequented in better times. Memories hung heavy in the air, a stark contrast to the words he was about to utter. "I want a divorce," he said, his voice catching slightly. He looked at her, searching for understanding, a shared recognition of their fractured foundation. He expected tears, maybe anger, but what he saw in her eyes was pure shock. It was the first sign that this wouldn't go as planned. The silence stretched, punctuated by the clinking of spoons against ceramic. Then, the dam broke. Divorce? Absolutely not. Her voice, usually soft-spoken, rose to a shriek. Her denial was swift, a wall erected against the unwelcome truth. "You're just stressed," she insisted, her voice laced with panic. "We can fix this. We always do." But fixing it had become a tired dance of apologies and empty promises. He was done dancing. "This isn't about fixing, it's about moving on," he stated, his voice firming with resolve. He saw the realization dawn in her eyes. This wasn't a fight she could win with her usual tactics. The shock morphed, twisting into something sharper, more dangerous. Tears welled in her eyes, blurring the anger simmering beneath. "How can you do this to me?" she choked out, her voice trembling with feigned vulnerability. The blame shifted, a familiar weapon wielded with practiced ease. "You promised me forever!" she cried. "You swore you'd never leave!" He steeled himself against the guilt she tried to weave around him. He had heard it all before, the well-rehearsed script designed to manipulate and control. "Forever doesn't exist in a broken home," he stated, his voice weary but resolute. "We've both been unhappy for too long." Section 4. Seeking Control. Desperate attempts to rewrite the narrative. The tears dried as quickly as they came, replaced by a steely glint in her eyes. "You won't get away with this," she hissed, her voice laced with venom. He watched as she spun a narrative, painting him as the villain, a heartless monster abandoning his wife. He knew their friends and family would hear her side first. She held the power of perception, and she knew it. "You think they'll believe you?" she challenged, a triumphant smirk playing on her lips. He felt a surge of anger. He had spent years tiptoeing around her volatility, trying to avoid these very explosions. But this time, he refused to be silenced. Section 5. Truth's Advocate. Exhausted but resolute, he seeks a fair resolution. He was tired of the lies, the manipulation, the constant burden of keeping the peace. "The truth always comes out," he stated, his voice calm but firm. He wouldn't engage in a public smear campaign. He wouldn't stoop to her level. He would fight for what was right, for a fair and equitable separation. He knew it wouldn't be easy. He knew there would be more battles, more tears, more attempts to twist the narrative. But for the first time in a long time, he felt a glimmer of hope. The hope of freedom, the hope of peace, the hope of finally reclaiming his own story.